So if I would like to say a bit of background of the session, as we can see that Bangladesh is moving towards a quite agriculture dependent to manufacturing dependent country, and there is some transition towards green economy, not only in the economic development process, but also we can see this in the national plans, climate policies, and other things. And within this transition process, we found that local communities are quite crucial actors. And also in COP26, we have seen that locally led adaptation were quite highlighted, and local communities are proved to play a role on adaptation and but also at the same time for the development of the country. So with keeping these things on mind, our session aims to outline the importance and also the need for locally led adaptation that actually advances social inclusion, at the same time green growth in Bangladesh, and which also puts environmental concerns and sustainability at the forefront. So today we have our four distinguished panelists, and also we have our chair, Dr. Samia Salim, who is an associate professor and director at the Center for Sustainable Development, University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh. And we have our panelist, Mr. Kazi Emdadul Haq, who is the Senior Director, Strategic Planning and Head, Friendship. And our panelist, Mr. Shakib Nobi, who is the country representative of CORDAID. And another panelist, Mr. Mohun Kumar Mondol, Executive Director at Leaders. And the final panelist, Ms. Mahmouda Akhtar, who is the Senior Research Officer at the Sajida Foundation. So without making further delay, we would like to start the talk from the distinguished panelists. So at the beginning, I would like to call our panelist, Mr. Kaji Emdadul Haq. I already mentioned he is the Senior Director, Strategic Planning and Head of the Climate Action and Friendship. And he is quite expert and has a huge experience on working in different climate vulnerable locations on climate change adaptation and resilience building. At the same time, he can tell us how actually local communities play a role in green growth of the country. So I would like to request Mr. Emdadul Haq to talk to deliver his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Romana. Am I audible? Is okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Samaya, let me, honestly, I confess, I didn't realize, immediately before I am the opening batsman. So, and, just minutes before I saw, the whole, my mind set up, that actually let's listen first and then few words I will add later. But anyway, quickly, I just grab, what can be shared. Truly speaking, I'm very happy to see Dr. Samia Appa and Rumana and Sakib Nabi here. And I deeply realize that this session, a breakthrough session should be, because let me, whatever in my desk I quickly captured, in our constitution, if you say Article 18A, I'll coming back to our local adaptation, but then constitution itself says protection and improvement of the environment and the preservation of the natural resources, biodiversity, wetland, forests, and wildlife for the present and future citizens shall remain the state's obligation in all circumstances. I'm sure as you are professor, teacher, you all aware this, but rest of our colleagues. So this is our constitutional commitment, obligation. So if we comply with our constitution of the country, we have no other choice than the green growth. Okay, let me come with the next. If you see the Vision 2014, if you see Vision 2021, clearly indicates two major things. One is the eliminate of incidence of absolute poverty, and another is high income status. Even though we have no other choice, because our resource actually natural resources, we don't have beyond nature is our resource actually in our country. Yes, nature is our threat too, but truly speaking, if you deeply analyze, nature is our resource. And Next point, yes, we are very much excited. We are heading for LDC graduation in 2026, and the condition then if we I believe we are heading for, then if we really aim for GSP facilities, then the 32 international convention and agreements we have to comply, including our child rights, labor rights, human rights, and improving economic governance actions towards environmentally sustainably green growth. So beginning from constitution up to our graduation, LDC graduation, we have no other choice than green growth. Then finally, let me tell you a story. Shahida, she is a rural woman, live in Romari. She started her, Romari, very much environmentally vulnerable community, and at the same time, each and every year, you have nowhere in the floods, even in country, but Romari definitely inundated. So she started her business with little homestead gardening, and we wanted to make sure, like her, so around more than 1,500 women we involve, to make sure they use green uh, options, whatever they have around. And they are doing very well. Let me take you those stories. And very quickly, can I share the slides? Okay,
Yes, of
I'll go
course.
very first, but don't hesitate to stop me. It's still asking me host disable participant screening sharing. Can you allow me, please?
Um, Savio, can you allow?
Yes, I'm working on that.
Um,
Okay. This is actually, don't take as my presentation, just my talking points. Just let you know.
I think you're able, sir, to share your screen.
Yes. This two map clearly indicates where we are and where we should draw our attention. You see the northern part and southern part, same area, poverty stricken and disaster, vulnerability, everything remained almost in these two areas. And then definitely our attention and our intervention. Sorry, Samiapak, anything? Okay. Then we in our working area around 1,350 families we did a study in 2019. The study says 27.2% families using technology tools for agriculture production. 10% of families know selling food tolerant crops. 54.7% cultivating seasonal vegetable. 5.6 using crop calendar is a long list. I know Dr. Rumana aware about the whole statistics because we had another presentation day before yesterday. And then what we did, we helped them to, build on their traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge. And clearly you see within 2 years time, these families average annual income increased from 16,000 to 36,000. So what is the rumor, the green growth is not really benefiting, is indicating is possible. And at the same time, integrated crop techniques, what we applied, it was in baseline, it was 15% people used to apply integrated crop technique. And in end line, we found 92%. Technology use, green technology, 27 to 99%. Crop calendar using helping a lot. Crop calendar changing a lot because in our early, when the flowers, the cyclone used to come and now it's changing their pattern. So is 5% to 87%. So this actually, I am not really the whole intention not for presentation to giving you the clue is possible in a for a NGO is a local level intervention, a very small scale intervention. If we can bring this level of changes, the government and other stakeholders can take it forward. But challenge is what? Yes, I can grow vegetables. I can bet there is anyone in this Bangladesh, they love to grow vegetables, but why to sell? No market in the community. even if they need to cross the river, if they don't have bridge to cross, then they are in crisis. They need to be connected with the market, and this is the big challenge for green growth. And green growth, not only the vegetable growing or agriculture, it's a huge thing. So I'm concentrating at this moment, very rural community house homestead level things. So these bridges, what you see, this actually built by the community, initiated by the community, built by the local government. We help local government to understand that these bridges can change the economic pattern of your community. This market, there was no market in this village. We helped local. We didn't invest money here. We just negotiated. We just mobilized community and local government. Please, build a market here so that the local community people can say their, three pumpkin they have, two papaya they have, one thing, so that they can't take those things to market to sell to earn money. Something like this 100 unit local infrastructure has been done, so that they are now encouraged, inspired to grow more. And then this is also important, cost and profit analysis. These people is very difficult to realize, is pumpkin better or potato better? Is this better or that better? So we help them, the Cancun better or papaya better, or white grout better or the bitter grout better. So that we help them this analysis, expected profit and investment expenses, all those things. Now we gave them guidance. We introduce, family income expenditure book. They keep record how much they invested for these vegetable growing and how much they sell. And so that, that helped them to realize, so that's actually, this is sustainability. To me, this is the sustainability. The knowledge, the spirit remain. They don't need new motivation. They can keep continuing their own calculation. And this is actually family-wide socioeconomic data. Sometimes we give same prescription for anybody in the working area. So no, the South family in community, even in northern part of the country, even the same community, space different family household has different level of space, different level of soil condition. So our expert actually review this socioeconomic condition and help him or her what should decide. And community poverty map, in nutshell, poverty map has a different interpretation in the world. But here what we actually wanted to mean the geographic barrier. These people, I always say, these people are poor not because of them. The poor because they don't have opportunity. What do we have? So that this poverty map identify the barrier, geographic barrier, no culvert, no bridge, no road, no boat, how they will go. For me, I have for my water, for electricity, government subsidize, giving the road, the drainage facility, everything is here. And so that what they have, we are expecting. And then later we realized 99% using now technology, 96% family using natural manure, 96% people cultivating seasonal crops, vegetables, not imported crops or vegetables. 87% people are using crop calendar. And these, again, a long list. And the connection with the local government and motivating other government social. And the one important thing, this is not really enough. And I will conclude by saying that is, the major challenges is not really easy, the investment return. And that's why people discouraged, because and it will take time. So that support needed, if this poor family can be connected with social safety net coverage, then that would help to get some more money. If the initial fund is a grant, then initially it's look like you helping, but at the same time, they will give you 2-3 times, 5 times. And this is the major challenge. And we need to, for me and for you, it's difficult for government. If they take an initiative, yes, we need to subsidize them first, because for get 50 taka seed, they need 200 takas travel cost. Finally, we realized 6-7% income increased. So I welcome researchers, academia, Dr. Rumana, Dr. Samia here, and other colleagues here. So we need to double check. We need to reinvestigate how it happened. within 2 years' time, how 67% income increase using green growth and using green economy. So that if it is only 17%, forget about 67, I'm happy. So that we need to look back. Thank you so much. And then just 1 minute time, I just shared with you northern story, southern story. I will tell only 1 minute. This we initiated mangrove because of time constraint. I'm just hurrying up. That is the mangrove we initiated on the whole world. I don't need to explain you whether mangrove is the climate, mitigation issue. For me, is an adaptation issue and locally led adaptation issue, both because they embankment protection, flora, fauna, all the earning source for the southern people, man, a big and we in 3 hectares land for 3,000 hectares land, 3,000 trees planted, and we're doing we balancing, life, we're balancing safety at the same time, carbon emission sequestration, and we are engaging community for this mangrove plantation. So cash for seed, nursery management, plantation, community taking care. They are taking mangrove as a safeguard. This is also to me as the biggest green growth. Thank you so much. And these are all numbers. If I get time later, I will explain much more. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kazi Imdadul Haq. Very insightful presentation, and you really highlighted on cost profit analysis and social safety nets, which were really very interesting. So now I would like to request our next panelist, Mr. Shakib Nabi, country representative coordinate, and he is expert in climate change adaptation work in different local areas, and he will today highlight on social enterprise initiatives that might play an important role in locally led adaptation practice and to promote green growth at different climate vulnerable locations of Bangladesh.
Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Sultana, for the floor. And thank you very much to Center for Sustainable Development for kind of choosing a very interesting topic, which forced all of us to go through, the schools again, do a bit of a reading to understand it. And that was fun also, I would say, when you get some topic which challenges your thinking capacity, which rather kind of enforces you to kind of look at it. That was fantastic. And the reason why it's more interesting is that we are talking about adaptation from a very non-conventional perspective over here. The reason why I'm saying non-conventional is that we're talking about how enterprise or social enterprises can lead to better adaptation. And then the moment we talk about enterprise and social enterprises, we are talking about public-private partnership. We are talking about engagement with, the other private sectors. We look at the community, not just as a community, but we look at the community as an entrepreneur and who can make these business profitable, at the same time contribute to the larger cause. This becomes more relevant in Bangladesh because we are talking about a country wherein more than 70% of the people are either dependent directly or indirectly on agriculture or natural resources. And agriculture and natural resources are the areas which is hardest hit by the climate change. And if you look at SDG 13 indicators, there's a study by Center for Policy Dialogue, which says that all the indicators of SDG goals 13 are red in Bangladesh, which is a matter of huge concern for all of us. And I also see a huge connected between poverty and vulnerability. That's what Imdad Bhai has been saying, but I also see a connection between poverty, vulnerability, and development, because there are various case studies globally which says that due to the impact of climate change, some of the countries are losing more than 3 to 4% of their GDP. The development gains that you make every year is lost because of the impact of climate change, because of the cyclone, because of the flood, because of other issues. I was doing a bit of an understanding about, trying to understand how a green growth looks like. So green growth for me is an economic growth. We continue to prosper economically, but at the same time, we don't compromise on the environment, services, and product, which means we talk about growth. At the same time, we take care of the environment also. During the last 20 years, I see Bangladesh having stupendous GDP growth. One of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, that during the last 20 years, when we had this growth, did we compromise on the environment? Like Bangladesh is highly prone to climate change. I'm sure you know about it. Then I think there's a biodiversity collapse because of the population pressure and climate change. And everybody knows about the quality of air. I mean, how it has deteriorated and how it is ranked globally. I also see that Bangladesh has huge growth ambitions. We talk about Bangladesh being an upper middle income country by 2031. And we talk about Bangladesh as an high income country in another 10 years from 2031, which is 2041. So we are very ambitious in terms of our growth. Again, some of the questions that we need to ask is that if we are talking about these ambitious growth, will it have an impact on our environment? Will we compromise on the environment concerns when we're talking about growth? And this has been happening globally. I mean, Bangladesh is not just an exception, but the positive part I see is that Bangladesh has some very strong key strategies, like the Perspective Plan 2041, the 8th 5-year plan, and the Delta plan, which focuses a lot on growth, but it talks about green growth also. Now, I mean, this is my understanding around green development and growth. Let me come to the interesting topic about social enterprise and how social enterprise can promote adaptation. I feel that the first thing that we need to think about is, when we talk about social enterprises, are the social enterprise that we're talking about, are they climate proof? Are they themselves resilient to the impact of climate change? Hoy ki you have an enterprise and then you have a disaster. Mohanda is from the field, he understands it very well. So you have an enterprise on the ground and all of a sudden there is a cyclone and the enterprise gets a setback. The first thing we need to do is climate proofing of the enterprise and the support we need to kind of ensure that the enterprise is climate proof. I mean, there could be certain parameters and indicators, and if possible, I see that there has to be some kind of a climate audit or resilience audit when you promote an enterprise which is community based, which is in climate vulnerable areas. Now, the moment we talk about social enterprise, let me pick up some of the sectors which gives us the possibility and opportunity to promote social enterprise. And let's go at the root causes as to what kind of an impact climate change is having on those sectors. Jodi ami agriculture e kotha boli, the first thing is the loss of water. The second thing is the loss of quality water. You have the water on the ground, but the water is saline, so much saline that you cannot do agriculture. Number 3 could be around salinity of the land. So these are some of the problems which is caused by climate change in the coastal areas. And if you talk about health, the moment you have a disaster, the access to health services totally collapses. Same is when we talk about quality of drinking water, whether you have sufficient water to drink, whether the quality of water, I'm sure Mohanda knows it better, Padmapukur, Bori Gwalani, Shatkira, Dakop and all, people, I mean, water is a big issue over there. And one of the studies says, I mean, very interesting is that the price that we pay for water in Dhaka is 100 times or 200 times less than the price the poorest pays for quality water in the coastal areas in Sundarbans in Bangladesh. So are we talking about some poor policies, poor policies also over here? Then again, when we talk about sanitation, how the entire infrastructure gets destroyed if there is a flood, if there is a cyclone. And then I see certain opportunities also. The moment we talk about agriculture and you see that water quality, then we talk about traditional water harvesting. Or I see lots of enterprises coming up in the coastal areas, which sells potable water to the community for drinking. They have set these plants, and these are all community based and non-community owned. Same is, I mean, when we talk about less water in the agriculture field, is drip irrigation an option, and whether we can have a community based enterprise around drip irrigation. These are all things which is happening in Bangladesh. I'm speaking, nothing speaking new about it. Same is around like the agriculture. You have the seed qualities which cannot be grown in saline tolerant areas. So are you working with a research agency to come out with seeds which is which can be grown in climate sensitive zones also, which can be grown in saline areas also? If yes, can the local community, can we create an enterprise around local, with the local community, to create distribution network around the seeds? We have a very interesting project in Borishal and Borguna, which is funded by Dutch Enterprise Agency. And the issue is the same, that the quality of soil doesn't allow normal vegetables to be kind of grown and harvested. So we are working with a very big private seed companies in coming out with those saline tolerant seeds which can be grown in those areas. This is adaptation. At the same time, we are engaging the community to market those seeds. At the same time, talk about, what you call it, technology for climate change. What different technologies you need on the ground to grow these kinds of seeds. Then again, we create what you call it, a barefoot entrepreneur, who we call as farm-based advisors. These are the people who are providing the agri input products also, but the agri input services also over there. So again, what the climate change is also creating opportunities for green enterprises, for community-based enterprises. There's lots of examples around that. Like Bangladesh, I see huge pressure on agriculture land because of the growth of population. But in one of the seminars, I was told that we have another Bangladesh which is underwater, the same size of land which is undersea. Are we looking at that area as an economic opportunity wherein we can promote blue economy? Can we cultivate alternate food over there? Here I'm talking about seaweeds, halophytes, spirulina. These are some of the very high value crop which can be exported. At the same time, the community also uses these kind of products. So are we looking beyond the boundaries of Bangladesh into the seas, which is under Bangladesh, and can grow some kind of a, promote some kind of a blue economy and have certain enterprises around that? Then I would also talk about health, access to health services. Whether we have a project in Sunamganj in the Hor area, again, one of the major hotspots of climate change, wherein what we are doing, we are using the digital technology to ensure that the poorest of the poor living in the Hor areas have access to health services through smart health cards. And it's the community barefoot health service providers who is a connect between a centralized health service providers and the community on the ground. At the same time, they're equipped with certain diagnostic skills also, so that they provide services and earn their income. These are example of very community based, community owned entrepreneurs on the ground. Same goes with biodiversity also. Due to the loss of biodiversity, do we have an alternative for the fuel wood? Can we come out with the smart stoves? Can the community be a part of coming out with an enterprise around smart stoves or other form of energy? This could be an option. And I fully agree with Amdadul Bhai that reforestation or afforestation is not just climate change mitigation, but what we call it is a larger concept, which is called, we call it ADMIT, adaptation and mitigation together. We call it ADMIT. And I see it as a mechanism which helps the community adapt to the climate change. Right now, we are exploring a project around carbon credits in Cox's, and the larger message is that we do the afforestation or reforestation with the community, and then the community is able to sell these carbon credits in the international market, again, an enterprise, through a mediator or an aggregator. So these are some of the examples I have. The larger lesson is that I feel that very important is that we need to highlight that leave no one behind should be the overarching approach when we are talking about climate smart adaptation and enterprise. We also feel that whenever we talk about enterprise, we should be focusing on looking at environment and social impact assessment, which largely focuses on the issue around what we call it, do no harm. Whether the interventions from our side doing good to one section of the community is harming other section of the community. That's what we need to be very conscious of. We need to focus on those enterprises which focuses on carbon transition, from high carbon to low carbon transition. At the same time, I feel climate change, adaptation through an enterprise approach, my last word, is all about it's an opportunity for building back better. Thank you very much for the floor. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shakib Nabi, for your thought-provoking remarks and so many new ideas for social enterprises that can at the same time promote green economy and can be very good examples of locally led adaptation. Thanks a lot for that. And now we would like to call our next panelist, Mr. Mohan Kumar Mondol, who is the Executive Director at Leaders, and he will explain or tell us the story of locally led adaptation in the light of green growth and social enterprise. Mr. Mohan Kumar Mondol.
Muted. Want to be muted.
Mr.
মোহন
Mohan,
দা আপনাকে আনমিউট করতে হবে।
unmute করতে হবে।
এখনো muted, Mohandas?
দাদা আপনার আনমিউট করতে হবে।
Yes, now I am unmuted.
Now.
It was muted. I did not know. So I would like to share a presentation. Please allow me and please confirm that it is me is audible and my presentation is. You can
yes, we can hear you and see your presentation. Just
It's visible, sir.
great if you do it in the slide show mode.
So thank you, the organizer, to give me the chance to share my story, share our story from the southeast coastal region of Bangladesh. Dear distinguished chair, moderator, and panelist, I would like to welcome to my presentation. Most of you know the ground level situation, what is happening in the coastal area, and I heard the last two presentation that is very very nice and well articulated, and Emdad Bhai already focused the northern and southern to a story, and Mr. Shakib Nabi, he is the boss in the social enterprise development, and I learned a lot of things from him. So I am very little person to say something in front of them. Please forgive me and thanks again for my to come my presentation. Right? Actually, I would like to share a story from the coastal area. You know that all of you know people of Bangladesh, people of the southeast coastal region are very much threatened due to the increasing devastated catastrophes, and people are losing a lot of assets in every year due to the catastrophe. So the people who are living in the coastal area, they are migrating from this area. So I try to show you some picture where people how it is described the real situation, the ground level situation in the south coastal region. So it is very well-known situation to all of our panelists, and I think the all participants who attended in this session. In this context, I'd like to share two stories from the ground. So I would like to remind the Edward Abbey's sentence: "Growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of the cancer cell." Means all of you know that we should develop. If we want to develop something, we should develop green growth. And our presentation and our story always considering the environment friendly, economic growth, sustainable, decent work, and social development. So my first story is a woman from a community named Dipti Rani Mondol. She is living in Munchiganj Union of Shamnagar, Upazila of Satkira districts. The Munchiganj Union, one of the inundated union during the Cyclone Isla 2009. And before that, they used their land for production, and that is their main income of their family. But after Cyclone Isla, due to the saline water inundation and due to the salinity intrusion in the soil and water, they could not grow food as well previously. And her husband is a deliverer. They have a very small piece of land, but could not grow food. And that time she became involved in a climate resilient group, and that is the intervention of leaders. So her intervention, what she did, she practicing the saline tolerant rice and vegetable cultivation in their land, because they have to adopt new technologies, and as a new technologies they introduce the saline tolerant rice and vegetable cultivation. And also they have a small piece of integrated farming, like fish and vegetable cultivation and integrated farming. And they practice seeing zero tillage agriculture, as their groundwater is saline, and they're practicing mixed crop cultivation and water management for irrigation. They practice the drip irrigation in their field, and seed house development. This is one of their income generating option for that Dipti Rani's family, that they develop a seed house in their family and sell a lot of seeds among the community. Every year now they are earning 1,20,000 to 1,50,000 per year by cultivating the paddy and vegetables, and also the marketing the seeds. But they always use the organic fertilizer and pesticide and introduce the integrated pest management in their crop cultivation. And they are not fully become fully dependent from the production to the market, and become a role model for the other in the community. And you know that some villagers came to her to take the seed from them. And they're by doing this work, her dignity and honor has been increased in the society. I am showing their picture and how they are cultivating their economic crop in their field. Now I'd like to tell a story of a social enterprise. You know that in Sundarban area there have a lot of tiger widows. You know that most of you know the tiger widows is the woman who lost their husband because of tiger in the Sundarban. But the tiger widows is socially excluded because of the superstition and social phenomenon. And they are remaining untouched in some community in our area. And you know that it is a very education backward area, and poor people, mostly the poor people living in the island area in the Sundarban region. That's why the tiger widows are the most vulnerable. So our main concern is we will do a small enterprise what will use locally available raw materials and produce value-added product. You know that I am showing that the Keora pickle, honey processing, etc. And later on I will show what kind of things they will produce. But our concern is reduce vulnerability of women-headed families in the Sundarban area and achieving resilience without doing any harm to the environment. That is our main concern. And what they're doing, what they're producing. They're producing Keora pickle without any artificial flavor. And manually honey processing, they are processing the honey manually. And handmade sanitary napkin they are making in the cottage, and handmade face masks they are making in their cottage, and boutique block print they are doing also. They have some product what they are producing. They produce the sari and Keora pickle, honey processing, and face masks and everything. But how they are, I am drawing your attention that why we are saying that this is the green growth. It is a decent, it creates a decent or scope for the tiger reduced and socially excluded families in the coastal area. Though it is not big cottage, it is a small cottage, but sometimes it is somehow it is a decent work for them as they are earning daily from this cottage, and ensure the best uses of locally available raw materials. I already shown that the honey and the Keora, it is a renewable, because if we do not collect from the Sundarban, it will lost, and sometime in the sometimes that kind of things, if we do not collect, it can be a hazard for the Sundarban management. So we are using that kind of materials what can regularly generated in the Sundarban. And our main fact, we are producing all the things without any emission of carbon, and sustainable and lead to social development. And by this work, they are empowering economically. So that is our main things. That is the main two a story I wanted to share with you. I know that from Imdad Bhaiya we have learned there have a lot of things, and Sakib Nabi described what kind of things we have to consider to be green growth. So our recommendation or the way forward is here, and I would like to say green growth should be considered in climate change and livelihood intervention for long-term sustainability. And development of environment-friendly social enterprise and green jobs are important to reduce climate-induced migration from the coast. And market mechanism should be developed to sustainable of the social enterprise. That's it. That's it from my presentation. And if any question raised in my presentation, if we get that question, I will happy to answer that question. Thank you all for your patience to watch my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohan Kumar Mondal. We are really happy and really glad to know the local level stories and very fresh picture of mask and local crafts, which were really very nice. And you really presented the locally led adaptation stories that really already started connecting green growth aims of the country's plans. So now I'd like to request our next panelist, Ms. Mahmouda Akhtar, who is a senior research officer at Sajida Foundation, and she will talk about linking green skills development with locally led adaptation with empirical evidences from Gabura and Moula. Ms. Mahmouda Akhtar.
Yeah, thank you, Gobeshona, for giving me the floor. Please let me know if my internet is becoming creating any problem, then I will turn off my camera because I'm joining from office, and last time I faced like very similar sorts of problem. So,
no, it's clear. Yeah, you can.
Okay, great. So in order to like grasp what we mean by green skill, we need to take a step back and understand the overarching idea of green growth. So like we already heard a lot of like discussions from our like previous presenters. So I hope I can add a few more like valuable points here. So while there are many definitions of green growth, like used in different contexts, one of the most widely accepted definitions of green growth is given by OECD, which is like Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And like according to their definition, the green growth refers is fostering economic growth and development while ensuring that natural assets continue to provide the resources and environmental services on which our well-being relies. And the key essence of green growth is to continue economic growth by keeping sustainability and environmental protection at the core of all development process. And the concept of green skills is to like as the knowledge, ability, values, and attributes that are needed to live in developed and support a sustainable and resources efficient society. So despite green skills gaining more prominence in developed countries, the situation is not quite the same for developing countries who still lack adequate numbers of graduates training with green skills. So according to a recent report by ILO, it is state that even though many countries are yet to finalize a clear strategy plan for skill development and for green job, there are many initiatives in place to provide the necessary skills. And so there are two streams of skill development mentioned in the report, which is like to establish new and more specific systems to generate and promote skills for green jobs. And the second one is to integrated green aspects into existing systems. So why do we need to promote or develop green skills? Like Bangladesh, widely acknowledged for being highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and we all know about it, has all of this issue has made remarkable notes when it comes to taking climate action. Over the years, Bangladesh has become a front runner when it comes to climate adaptation. However, the country has taken some mitigation initiatives along with adaptation, where we need to focus on green knowledge. For example, already there is happening a lot of like discussions on energy initiatives like renewable energy. So we can think like how this energy can be more like greener. In addition, despite the many climatic challenges, Bangladesh has been moving rapidly up the development progress. So here the for ensuring sustainable growth, we need to focus on low carbon technologies and nature-based solutions. Like we all know, like in national and international levels, discussion is happening on green growth, green skills, green development. A lot of reports are coming up on it. But what is happening in local level? Like to get locals inside, we like the Climate Change and Disaster Management Unit of Sajida Foundation like has started working on two unions from southern region of Bangladesh. One is Gabura, which is one of the most climate vulnerable region in Bangladesh. like though there has a lot of natural resources, including Sundarbans and rivers, people from Gabura are facing a lot of problems to continue their traditional practices due to lack of knowledge or like lack of skills. And also like their livelihood is hampering due to climatic events like cyclones, salinity intrusions, and like waterlogging, floods, and other sorts of like climatic events. As a result, every year, a large number of people are migrating from Gabura to other places seasonally or permanently. And in the new place, they are facing, again, like difficulties to find a suitable job due to, like, as I mentioned, having lack of knowledge. If they get proper training on green skills to ensure sustainable livelihood initiatives in their own places, like own areas, maybe they will not move to other places. They can continue their work in their origin place. And in terms of Mongla Port municipality, which is also a climate vulnerable area, people are moving here, like as it is a port area, people can easily get work, like day labor based work here. Besides, people are coming here to work in EPZ. However, the youth in Mongla who is educated in some degrees are in despite need of suitable jobs. Moreover, as there is no vocational training centers in Mongla Port area, there is no opportunity for skill development for youth groups. And we also talked with like some national level and local level stakeholders, and from like during our talk with them, we found that like the Mongla UNO also like feel there is a need to focus on sustainable and environmental friendly working opportunities beside focusing only ensuring employment. So we can see that there is a need of green skill based training. So what we can what can be done to reduce like, all of these problems. So though we didn't find any organization who is directly working on green skills in the area, like during our study period, we found that some organization providing training on ecotourism, better management of the Sundarbans, and also like they are providing money for building eco-resort. So which is actually creating job opportunities for some of the youth. And all these initiatives can be recognized under like green skills umbrella. So now, like, sorry. I missed just slides. Okay, sorry, ignore it. So now we need to think what can be done in future. So considering the locations near the Sundarbans, it would be extremely useful if locals become aware about the use of forest resources in more suitable way without like harming the environment. As a part from like some initiatives that I mentioned just a few seconds ago, that like they are getting trainings on ecotourism or other sorts of things, but it's not like recognizing as green skills because this concept is completely new for like in Mongla area and as well as in Gabura. So training can be provided focusing on green skills in both places. However, there is no opportunity for skill development for youth groups as there is no like vocational training centers in the Mongla Port areas. I will not say like no opportunities, but if we wanna say it's like for the long learn, like in a proper way, like providing certificates or like degrees. So then actually we need to think something like about vocational training institutions in both areas. So keeping all of these issues in mind, we are planning to conduct some trainings with marginal communities in the both areas, considering green skills training. We are planning to starting with ecotourism, solid waste management, technical trainings, and a few more initiatives under this green skills and green development umbrella. Our key focus is to identify the skills needed by the people and foster green skills that will increase their employability within the green business sector or green development sector. Now I would like to conclude my presentations with a quote of Julia Butterfly Hills, and this is we have to hold you have to hold yourself accountable for your actions, and that's how we are going to protect the art. Yeah, thank you so much for hearing me for a long time, and hope we will discuss more in our question answer sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mahmood Akhtar, for your wonderful remarks on different areas of green skill development and the need for vocational education in remote areas. Thanks a lot. Now, I'd like to request the audience to ask their question in the chat box. And before they ask, I would like to take the advantage to ask few questions to the panelists, as I think the audience take a bit of time to ask questions. So my first question is for Mr. Imdadul Haq. As you were talking about climate smart agricultural technologies, and also, you have mentioned that non-crops production is a bit increasing. So we would love to know more about how to make the community peoples engage in non-crop production and how to diversify their income source, and also that income source should be relevant to green economic growth. So if you give us some remarks on that aspect.
Well, I'll take a few minutes again. Thank you, Dr. Romana. That is, first, let me give you some indication the way we are in progress with the crops things and vegetable things. In northern Bangladesh, the flood is a common phenomena. It's very, and early days we used to know when, but now unpredictable, very unpredictable. And then a small homestead, the little vegetable garden is damaged, flooded because of flooding. And what is this? Maybe it's a very simple and little garden, but this is the source of their, food security, nutrition, micronutrient, or they can sell. And we introduce, sack gardening, both the hanging and in the courtyard. Simple intervention, big change, big impact. So they're now motivating. Even they can stay up to the 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, or 3.5 feet water level. If they have, some vegetables on roof, if there's some vegetables around. And this is last year we introduced, if you remember the unpredictable 3 times, 4 times flooding, people lost their seed bed. So the floating seed bed helped a lot. Floating, vegetable garden helping a lot. And we introduced solar gardening. But, but people, even if you remember natural mulching, using the flora and fauna and really helping to reduce the use of water. And this is a situation itself helping them to adapt with these green growth things. And if you, as you asked me, non-crop, people, those who lost land, they don't have land. They don't have scope. They need to survive. But usually they come to the Nandon Park or Fantasy Kingdom Park area first, then they enter into Dhaka city or Khulna city, Rashtriya city. But what we do, we introduce, vocational training center at the community level, so that they are taking part for, handicrafts things, different items. And we sell those things in Dhaka city and we send some abroad. In addition, we helping them for different types of, non-crops items creation Some people taking training for, tubewell maintenance. It's really tubewell, water source tubewell is a big option for the even flood time, whatever situation, and they can find a mechanic. If they can learn, manage and maintain, the techniques how to make sure the maintenance, they can earn easily. Solar technician, solar is now, increasing everywhere, but, we need technicians. So young people now getting training for solar technicians. So there are different skills we are actually, but I'm a solar technician, apparently simple thing. If you see it's renewable energy, contributing climate, and helping people to, and we have solar village, so that is popularity increasing day by day. So this is the way. As a mangrove things, I know people are, busy, people have no chance for the salinity. We encourage them for the, crops, dark, this, that, and we helping them, and how really we can build a win-win situation. In conclusion, I must say, honestly, we don't see any opportunity, but we have the resource, nature itself. This nature is our resource, and this nature actually will make us the, the rich country or middle income country, whatever. We have no other resources. We have nature, we have two hands. This our actually asset, or this our actually investment, whatever. That's all. If you have any specific question, I can answer. Thank you.
Thank you. There was one question in the chat box for you. I think you answered partially. Someone wants your Mr. Isam Raju, who wants to get the friendship presentation, and you shared your email address with him, but he also wanted to know about the next step of your initiative. So if you'd like to add to that.
Oh, thank you. The next step, actually, what we actually bridging the gap, taking people on board, people, those who are relief dependent, those who are lost land, those who are this. So we are actually bringing them in the journey towards resilience, towards the mainstream. The next step, actually opening this, connecting these people with a better earning opportunity, financial institution. For example, around 1,500 family graduated in December. So what we're doing now, we can, because these people somehow is 2 years time using green growth, agriculture patterns, smart agriculture technology, all those things. They have some capital, as I mentioned you. They have income. There is around 67% income increase. So they have now some capital. So they can now easily ask microfinance organization to give them some extra loan to start their new business, new agriculture, this, that. So that, what is really, we are connecting them with the local financial institution, maybe microfinance organization, maybe bank, maybe some other organizations. They had some savings with us. So we are giving back the savings to them, so that they at a time they are getting some money. So unfortunately, I'm sure definitely Mohanda aware, and Sakib Bhai, that is people, those who have nothing, no land, or no earning opportunity, they hardly can get money from the microfinance organization. So that there are some special project, there is different issue. But if people have some sort of earning, some opportunity, some capital, some, so if they get more money to add with this, so they can best use their profit. Otherwise, profit gone for the installment payment. So that gap, relief dependency and journey for resilience, in between there is a gap. This gap, actually, if you build this gap based on loan, you can only repay the installment, and interest will go to the money lenders. If you somehow get some grants in between to raise your capital, that would actually help to proceed with your strength and skills. And this gap remain in our development paradigm. This gap remain in government mechanism everywhere. These people remain there. And very last but not least, each and every disaster make these people further vulnerable. How? Because during the disaster period, they lost their savings. They work for somebody, but they take loan for someone, and they work during the better time, the normal time, but they don't get money because they already are caught by money lenders. So that's why we need to build a national mechanism development mechanism to bridge this gap. In our language, in friendship, we call transition fund for the green growth. In our country, if you see the history for different our crops pattern, government used to invest fast, subsidy fast. This type of things needed here to make sure green growth. And the financial institution, market chain developer, they need to look back how really these green products can be in the market.
Okay, and
Thank
thank
you.
you. And there is another question for you in the chat box. There, Mr. Shirajis Salikin wrote, should we continue to export our vegetables as against our people have a lowered opportunity to consume veggies that are health friendly? Veggies plants have been used to make more than 70% of medicines. So now no export of veggies may lower our import of Western medicines that are added with insecticide to keep this for longer shelf life. So I think he wanted to ask you if we limit our vegetable export, then might our local community get the chance to consume it, or whatever is your opinion?
Yes, I'm sure Sakibai also will join with me this. We are truly in crossroad with this. But as I mentioned repeatedly, the vegetable, fish, our land, our water is our resource, is our asset, is our opportunity, is our scope. So definitely, if we really want to gain money, we need to extend our production. We need to increase our production, and that will actually will serve. I understand from our pharmaceutical industry, one of the very largest industry in our country and in Asia, and they are now doing very well. So yes, we definitely we can look back our level of production, and at the same time we can make a balance how far. And this is just for the level of investigation and research. But I would recommend, yes, we should continue. Bangladesh can be the global market for vegetables, for fish, for that, because we don't have gold mine. We don't have the this mine, that mine. So that we have the mine is our land.
Thank you so much. So the next question is from Dr. Samia Salim to Mr. Shakib Nabi. So do you know if anyone is working on climate proofing social enterprises? Is there a toolkit or framework to apply to different social enterprises and see if they are climate resilient?
Very interesting question. I mean, the way I see it is that if you have to have an enterprise on ground, especially in climate vulnerable zones, there should be certain checks and balances which ensures that these enterprises are not prone to disasters or climate change, right? We don't know which format, but people have been talking about it, people have been thinking about it, and it's about, there are three very critical factors over here. One is the infrastructure itself, so that it's not this one. Number two is the labor. The moment a disaster strikes, the labor, I mean, there is a what you call it, a disruption in the entire livelihood ecosystem. People start moving out, people start looking at other sources of livelihood option. And third, and again, very crucial thing is that the market gets disrupted. So I feel the moment you look at these three factors from certain indicators, this can take care of climate proofing. But I also feel that a private sector has a large role to play over here. Let me give you an example from my earlier work, 2001. There was a massive earthquake in India, the Gujarat earthquake. 5,000 people died over there. And we were still struggling. How do we ensure that we provide the food and the necessary support to the community in terms of humanitarian aid? When we started moving in the field, we were surprised to see that we were struggling to reach to the community, and Coca-Cola was already there with the bottle. So private sector for me is not just about money. They bring in other expertise also, which we should be aware of, which we should be using. And I also feel that most of these private sectors, when they create an enterprise, the big enterprises, they focus a lot on climate proofing. If you look at Dhaka, which is very much, vulnerable to waterlogging, it happens. But somehow the larger factories, they have their own mechanism. So whether we can engage these private sectors to understand climate proofing, and if we can, if the private sectors can help us in coming out with certain criteria, parameters, and help us something called the safety audit also, or the climate audit. Over to you.
And thank you
Romana.
so much, Mr. Nobi, for answering.
Romana, I see two questions more. Julfikar Haidar Shah, should I answer in 30 within a minute?
Yes, please. Then we will
First of
come
all,
back
Julfikar.
again, Mr. Nobi. Also, there is another question for him. We will come back to him after hearing your answer. Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, Julfikar, yes, we are offering, we call farmer school. So that in the farmer school, people, they're learning, the solar irrigation, they're learning sack gardening, sorting garden, seed bed, mulching, and zero tillage. There are nowadays, our researcher, students, academia doing great things. We're bringing those things from research lab to field, so that they also getting, and there are some model farmer in different communities, so they also becoming trainer for the rest of the community people, and people those who have lost their land, and we call it plinth, is a raised land, oval shape, and lost people of their homestead, they stay over there for longer period, and these people have skills training, they becoming trainer. So now, yes, we have TVET training for related to agriculture. And next innovation, green skill. What I just mentioned, that actually our, honestly speaking, innovation for the local communities. And now we are in southern part for mangrove areas. We are trying to, introduce the cash for seed, mangrove seed management, maintenance, seedling, all those things is skill. We are giving them training. So I believe in near future, there will be huge demand for mangrove sapling, and they will find opportunity. They also, we are helping them, to be skilled how really they can use mangrove plantation for their earning, like the crab, fish, honey. So these are the actually transferring knowledge. I hope for the best. Please don't hesitate to write us or to keep in touch with us, for your sharing ideas and everything.
Thank you so much. And there is another question for Mr. Nobi from Mr. Savio. So he asked that I was wondering about the blue economic growth and locals' perception in growing seaweed and consumption. Could this be a potential field to look at?
I think I mean, one of the lessons that this pandemic has taught us, Jami Bujije, ki, I mean, if you ask me, what is the biggest lessons you've learned from here? I would say let's remain healthy, right? And the moment you talk about healthy, I think people have become very conscious about healthy foods and ethically produced foods. So, and I also see that in Bangladesh context, the trust level on food quality is very, very low. Whether you talk about mangoes, whether you talk about fish, you talk about vegetables, this is not something new. We struggle with the food quality, right? These are two factors. Number three, I would want to add over here is that there's a bit of a difference between food security and food sovereignty. Food security is that the community, the people of Bangladesh has the food to take care of their requirements. It doesn't depend whether it comes from inside or whether it comes from outside. Sovereignty is all about that you are self-sufficient in food through your internal resources. So look at these three factors. I would say that the moment you talk about ethical food, seaweed is at the top of it. The reason being it grows underwater. So there is no scope to put insecticides, pesticides, and chemical fertilizers. And very less scope to put pesticides and chemical fertilizers over there. Number two is that we struggle with our land. I mean, if you look at it, we are talking about 150,000 square kilometers of land and a population of around 170 million. And yesterday we were in a presentation where we were talking about Sweden, which has 3 times the size of land which Bangladesh has, and the population is 10 million, 1/17 of the size of Bangladesh. So the reason why I'm bringing this to the fore is that we struggle with our food production. There is a huge pressure on land, and the larger philosophy we follow around food production is that how do we grow more for less, meaning input খুব কম থাকবে in terms of money. It can be very exploitative agriculture. At the same time, we want to harvest as much as possible, and that's the reason why the quality of food is compromised. So I think the future of food in Bangladesh is around what grows under the sea. The larger question which Dr. Samia is asking about, the acceptability. It's around the behavior of the people, right? Whether they would want to eat halophytes, seaweeds, and spirulina and all, or it's something which is not a part of their culture. আমার মনে হয় কি food depend করে, it's very, very closely connected with the culture. So if you look at the indigenous community, they are already used to these kinds of food. Number one. Number two, we also feel that these foods are very popular outside Bangladesh, but in Bangladesh, what we need to do is talk about the advantages of these foods. I was reading it somewhere that the micronutrient content in seafood is 200 times than the food which is grown on ground. If people who are conscious of our food, which I am after the pandemic, and if we know about these advantages, and people who have who can afford this kind of food, I don't think I see any challenges in people accepting it. It's already happening in some of the elite area, I would call so-called elite areas in Dhaka, but I see it can be spread to other areas also, depending on how we promote it. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nabi. Now I'd like to request our session chair, Dr. Samia Salim, to deliver her remarks, and after that we can continue the question answer session. So before ending, please everyone please stay for the question and answer. So now we will hear Dr. Samia Salim's remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rumana. And the reason I'm intruding before the Q&A is done because there's a work party starting behind me. So any second, music is going to get really loud. So I wanted to get a few words in before that happens. So first of all, thank you to all our presenters. Really, really interesting talks from different dimensions. And also, as just to start with what Shakibai said, this session really made us think a little bit on these connections, and connection was the main word on, we're having these dialogues around green growth, prosperity plan, 5-year plan, Delta plan, and then, needing, and then at the same time, much needed adaptation, climate change impacts, and the final key thing around this conference being local adaptation, and bringing these 3 concepts together. Really, I think just hearing from the different talks is allowing us to also not hear good practices of how these are connected. We heard from the ground, from Honda's talk on actual, and as well as from Amdadul Bhai's talk on exact specific things that we need to have these green skills on in agriculture. Mahmouda mentioned in other areas as well, in energy, ecotourism. So we know there is a need for these skills that are needed to adapt, that is beneficial for adaptation and mitigation. But there is still a lot of work, I feel, around recognition of these skills and how they connect more explicitly green growth and adaptation, specifically local adaptation. On the one hand, we're needing to have upskilling, we're needing to get people jobs, changes in livelihood that are adapted to climate change. And on the side, we're talking, I'm in this position where obviously I'm working on the ground around adaptation, but at the same time working with ILO, World Bank, and other organizations who are making the definitions of the concepts of what does green growth mean or what does green skills mean. And here on the ground, we're seeing examples of what it is. But I still think there's a lot of work to connect the two. So, I would like to propose, being an academic think tank from ULAB, CSD, that's really what our strength is, to bring this knowledge together and be able to disseminate that, live examples from the ground. But how can we get it to connect the dots? So we would love from our side to be able to take your experiences, your story, and possibly, co-produce info brief, a policy brief, a paper in progress, something to bring these areas together, which I hope this session helped us to hear from the different perspectives. We know in climate migrant potential resilient cities that Mongla is one of them, but working there, Mahmouda shared that there's still need for jobs, and here there's possible areas in agriculture and other areas that the skills are being tested on the ground and working from on the time. We heard actual economic returns and possible ways that it can be done. So why don't we get that as part of the national dialogue as well? I think I'm going to stop here because I think they're just holding off on me to start the party, but I think the discussion is still growing. I think one of the things that Shakib mentioned around blue growth, I've been hearing the term blue-green growth, but what does that actually mean? Example you gave is exactly that, right? How can we have growth whilst thinking of the communities that are needing to adapt and get new skills? So I think it'll be great to keep the conversations going and bring these live examples shared today into this common space, and from ULAB, from CSD, we would love to work with yourselves and do that and making these connections more explicit, whether it's through more action research, whether it's looking at your existing work and bringing out these issues we're talking about, or something new altogether. So on the note, thank you once again from me, but I do believe we have a few more questions here. So I'm going to hand over to Romana to continue the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salim, for very nicely concluding everything, and everyone's take-home messages were in your speech. So I think it was very interesting for the audience, and they learned the main message from this session. And I had actually two questions for Mr. Mohan Kumar and Mahmoud Akhtar. I would love to use the time to ask those questions. So for Mr. Mohan Kumar, I would like to ask that you have mentioned about different green growth local level stories. And as we know that those communities are quite exposed to climate related disaster. So what happened to the marketing system of their products when some disaster comes? It can be a cyclone, or often we have faced a COVID-19 in the last years and before that. So how they managed to marketize their product during the disaster period? Yeah, thank you.
Very nice question. Thank you to giving me chance to answer something. Actually, we are still now in threat for the production of agricultural production in the context of growing catastrophe. The crop, what they are producing, is saline resistance or saline tolerant, means it can tolerate 2-3 ppt salinity of water. But if the flood come, if the riverbank break, and if the flood come, that will bring the water with 30 or 35 ppt of ppt salinity. So it is still it is very difficult to keep continuation their production of their agricultural production in disaster, in the time of at the time of disaster, like the Seattle flood. But still now they have some hopes to growing to keep continuing their production if they adopt some new technologies like the floating garden in the what is remaining in our coastal area, though it is not possible in the saline water, but it is possible in the waterlogged area and also the flood affected area in Bangladesh. And this is for the disaster issue, and the marketing is different for the green growth produced crop. Means we are promoting the resilient agriculture and as well as organic or ecological agriculture, but the market is squeezing because for the ecological agriculture product, because the field reality is different. Not saying the government, because people are the government or the another agencies, they are saying that people's purchase capacity is increasing, but in the ground level, purchase capacity is not increasing. They are taking loan from the different sources, and they are bringing the money to the market. It is not the purchase capacity, but problem is due to the growing poverty. If we tell someone that it is the organic product, you please pay a little bit more to purchase this, they will not purchase. They do not have capacity to purchase that because they do not have the much financial capacity. And that's why I like to say something that government should develop that kind of market and that kind of market mechanism in different market, at least in the upazila or the union level, so that the production, the ecological or organic food production, they can sell in that kind of market. And obviously, I think the government should have the capacity to give money to the community people who want to take any kind of initiative for the green growth enterprise. So government have the money, and money is grabbing some influential people, but the money is not coming to the people of Gabura who want to do some enterprise or green enterprise in that area. So government should focus the field level intervention, and also the green growth cover adaptation and mitigation. So the mitigation fund and adaptation fund should come for the green growth business. So I'd like to say I'd like to finish my speech saying that government and the international community should focus the green growth by using the adaptation and mitigation fund only, not for the renewable energy. Mitigation means not only for the renewable energy. Your solar or wind energy, a lot of things they are doing, but they are not doing to develop any of the community people. And I think that the international community also not consider the field level situation how people are facing in the coastal area or the different parts of the world. So thank you, madam, to give me the chance to say something.
Thank you so much for your answer. And very last question, and I would like to request Ms. Mahmouda to answer it briefly. So the question is, you have mentioned about vocational training in different remote areas. So it will be great if you mention some ways so that we know how we can promote vocational training, as there is no national level centers at those places. So if you give some insights how to manage this. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I will I would like to first
I think she's having some network issues.
You're frozen.
Why?
I
So
don't know.
you
I
can
start
keep
over?
your camera turned off, then it might.
I don't know, you're frozen. But I'm not. Oh, connect with this. চলে গেল। So I'm gonna come here. Yeah. All right, just Mama's just gonna come around. I don't know why.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, just.
Oh, sorry, am I audible? No?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my internet connection just gone. So yeah, so in terms of like your question, I would like to add that we're also like planning how we can like incorporate all of these like trainings in like national level. So we're what we feel we can have a frank dialogue with local governments, like how we can like provide that sorts of like training in a ground level. So our initial idea is like as they don't have any center to get like that sorts of training, we can invite some of the local level like NGOs or others stakeholders and like to come up with some sorts of like plans. And from like Sajida Foundation, we are like preparing some course modules, maybe very like short sorts of like training. It can be like 7 days training or 3 days training for like right now. But in the longer period, we are planning to build something in the local level where like the local people can come and like get trainings according their needs. I would like to mention about one NGOs who actually working in the Shamnagar's area, not Shamnagar, they have training centers in Shatkira where like they're providing like pretty similar sorts of training, like training on swing, and then technical trainings like drillings and other sorts of things. That NGO's name is Uttaran. So we are planning also doing something collaboratively, like we can suggest or we can send some people from Mongla to Shamnagar to their training center, but it is quite far from Mongla and Shamnagar. So like still now we are trying to figure it out how we can provide like good sorts of like training through which they don't need to go so far, like maybe they can get that training in their own areas like in Mongla and in Gabura. So still now we are planning, so I don't know how we can work, but let's see.
Thank you so much for the answer. And with this answer, I would like to conclude the session. I think Dr. Samia Salim is there too. And I hope we can conclude our session. And thanks very much to all the panelists, Mr. Kazim Dadul Haq, Mr. Shakib Nabi, Mr. Mohan Kumar Mondal, and Ms. Mahmouda Akhtar for wonderful presentations and thought-provoking insights into the new and emerging areas of connecting locally led adaptation with green growth in Bangladesh. So we hope to work together in future. And also I'd like to thank ECAD for organizing such an event so that we can come here and share our ideas, and we hope to look forward. I hope Dr. Samia Salim will end the session and just ending.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll join our office party now. Thank you.